Oh, hey. I was just playing with my Rubik's Cube here. Back in the early 80s, Erno Rubik created this puzzle, and it has 42 quintillion possibilities. It's pretty screwed up. This is a newer cube. I actually lost the middle portion here of the white cover, but I'll probably get another one. But the story is in 1980-ish, this was like everyone and their dog was buying Rubik's Cubes. They were like the thing. And I remember I was just like probably 10 or 11 years old. I was hanging out with my sister. She was going to Medicine Hat College. And she decided to take me to the mall. And so we went to the Medicine Hat Mall and stopped in the bookstore. And happened to see this book. This is called Jeff Conquers the Cube in 45 Seconds. But you'll notice at the bottom it says, and you can too. And I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. So I decided I was going to get this book. I think she may have even paid for it. I don't remember, so long ago. But this is the original book here. And look at this. Message from the principal of the school, 1981. It says, I here attest that I've seen Jeff Verasano on his first try in my presence solve Rubik's Cube in 43 seconds. Solstein, president. He's the president of, sorry, not the Stein and Day Publishers, so the CEO of the publisher of the book. So anyway, this book promises that you can do the cube in 45 seconds or less. Now there's a catch. So in the book, it teaches you about nomenclature, what side is called what, counterclockwise turns, clockwise turns, double turns, individual slice turns in the middle, and it teaches you how to solve the cube start to finish, no questions asked, and it's wonderful. So I basically learned this whole book, and you could learn the basic moves, which is the basic moves would help you solve the cube, but in order to get under that 45 seconds, you had to memorize the advanced moves, and the advanced moves would save you a lot of time. But the thing with that is you had to memorize more of maybe some longer moves that were more complicated. But once you had the muscle memory down and the recognition of, oh, this is pattern C, so do these moves, and boom, you're on to the next step. So the fun thing about this is in Medicine Hat in 1982, the Medicine Hat Mall decided to have a Rubik's Cube competition because it was so popular. And so in the old Medicine Hat Mall, there was a food court. And in the food court, they had different age categories. They had 11 to 16 age group. They had a 17 to 25 age group. And they also had, I think, a 26 and older age group. I don't quite remember. It was so long ago. So anyways, I had learned how to do the cube, and I was very good at it. And then after I got good at it, my brother's like, hey, how are you doing that? And I said, well, I got this book and it taught me how to do it. So I lent him the book, and he also learned how to solve the cube, which was great, except he didn't memorize all the advanced moves like I did. So I was usually quicker at doing it than he was. But this contest was happening at the Medicine Hat Mall, and so we both entered. He had a Honda Accord. He had his own car, and I was too young, obviously. So he had to give me a ride to the mall. So the problem was we got to the mall, and when I tried to enter my age group, they said, well, you can't because it's full already. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? So the 11 to 16 age group, which was my age group, I couldn't even get into it because it was already full. Meanwhile, my brother was in the higher age group, so 17 to 25, he got in. So I'm just completely devastated. I'm like, you have to let me in. You've got to let me into this competition because I think I'm really good at this and I want a shot at something. So 11 to 16 age group, the prize was some roller skates, and the 17 to 25 age group was like a Walkman type device. I didn't really care. I just wanted to be in the competition. And so I just pleaded and begged, and I said, "You've got to let me into the 17 to 25 age group. This is ridiculous." And so they, I don't know if I convinced them or if they just felt sorry for me, but they let me into the 17 to 25 age group category. So the weird thing with this was I actually had a Betamax tape of this from our local HAP Cable 10 station, and I wish I could find it because I would love to show it to you. Because as I won that competition in that age group, you could see my brother grab me. He's like, oh, he was so mad. And so I wanted to present to you the Advocation Trophy 1982 Rubik's Cube competition winner, age group 17 to 25. And this is the original trophy from 1982, and this is the original book from 1981. But the point of the story is, how well do you advocate for yourself? When have you had to stand up for yourself and say, hey, you know what? I have something to say. I think that this needs to happen, and here's why. So I wanted to share this story with you just because it was such a fun story. It's one of my favorite stories ever. I am going to have to get a new cube because this white thing's broken, but that's not the end of the story, actually. The end of the story comes like some 30 years later. So I'm playing piano at the Aussie Rules piano bar, and the sound tech at the dinner theater, his name is Welshton, he literally solves this thing in less than 20 seconds, 5 times in a row in front of me. And I'm just like, what planet are you from? I was completely stunned. And so in my head, I'm thinking, well, the book promised me 45 seconds, and here's this kid. He's like 20 something. I can't remember how old he was, like 2011, 2012. He's solving one of these speed cubes. This is a more modern cube because it moves quicker. I watched him solve it in less than 20 seconds, 5 times in a row. And I'm like, okay, well, you got to teach me how to do this. So the Advocation story now moves into what we call a paradigm shift story. So while this book was amazing for its time, there's a new way to solve the cube, and it's called speed cubing. So if you go to www.speedcubing.com, you will see a new method. I don't want to go through it with you, but there's 3 pages of PDFs with, if the cube does this, then do that. And there's even more algorithms that you need to memorize. But if you memorize all the algorithms, you can solve the cube in very short periods of time. So using this new method, I didn't memorize all the moves, but I was able to get my times down to like 31 seconds on a good day. But if I'd memorized more algorithms, I could probably do it even quicker. But it also required me to take everything I learned from this and just throw it in the garbage. Like, this is no longer applicable. I'm going to go do this other thing now. It's going to suck for a while because you're comfortable with the old way, but sometimes you have to step into discomfort to achieve greater time. So the time required to solve the cube with the new speed cubing method, much less. If you memorized all the moves, you could easily do it between 15 and 30 seconds on a regular basis, no questions asked. So I just wanted to share the story of the Rubik's Cube competition. How often do we advocate for ourselves? And then also, how often are we willing to step into something that's a little uncomfortable and new, and we suck at it for a while? One of my favorite stories with a celebrity that goes along with this concept is Pete Sampras. So Pete Sampras was one of the world's greatest tennis players. But when he was younger, he used to hit with a two-handed backhand. And the problem with a two-handed backhand is you have a lot of power, but you don't have a lot of reach. So if somebody hits a ball way out wide, you have to go to a single-handed to backhand. So Pete Sampras' coach told him, you know what? You've got a big wingspan. It's probably going to be better for you if you go to a single-handed backhand. And so as Pete Sampras switched from a two-handed backhand to a single-handed backhand, guess what happened? Lost a lot of matches. It was painful. It was ugly. He didn't like it. He hated it. But over time, his backhand started getting better and better and better. And for those of you who are tennis fans, you'll know that Pete Sampras' single-handed backhand is one of the most beautiful shots in the history of tennis. So sometimes you got to take a couple steps back before you progress further than you do. And that's where the paradigm shift becomes important. Are you willing to let go of what you knew before to embrace a method that may unlock hidden growth and sometimes massive growth for you? And it may take a while, but the reward is worth the risk. So I hope you enjoyed that story, the Rubik's Cube competition, advocation, and paradigm shifting for potential growth. Thanks for listening.